Alright guys, 5.8 billion reasons not to gamble. Here is Denise Coates, one of the richest women in the world. Makes her money from gambling, but she's not a gambler. No, she makes her money from the gamblers. Let's see. She's the CEO of Bet365, one of the world's largest online gambling companies, along with her billionaire brother John. So Denise Coates and her brother John set up Bet365 around the year 2000. They got into gambling through their father. Now, their father owned a few bookmaking stores and they sold them off to another bookmaker called Coral. So in 2000, she saw how things were going with the evolution of the internet and online gambling. So she registered bet365.com and then launched the website a year later. She owns half of Bet365, just over half, which facilitates more than 65 billion in bets every year. Now look at this number, 65 billion US dollars in bets. That's how much. Now they're not making that much, but they're making a pretty decent percentage of that. That's the amount of money people are betting just on this one online company. So gambling is absolutely huge. It's a scourge on many societies. She controversially paid herself more than $700 million in 2020, making her the highest paid British CEO. She is by far the highest paid. I'll show you a stat later, which is absolutely insane. Now, it's saying her worth here is 5.8 billion. There's other figures going around as well that are even higher than that. Now, this article here was a few years ago, and it just goes through how her salary's just risen over the last number of years. In 2016, it was 284 million. 2017, 347 million. Now, this is all in dollars. She's from Britain, so she deals with British pounds, but these are in dollars. 363 million in 2018. So you can see it rising and rising year on year. And then in 2019, it was 424 million. And then, as I said, 2020, during the pandemic, 700 million. And lots of people struggling during the pandemic. Denise Coates is not one of these people struggling. So here we have an article in The Sun talking about this mega mansion she's going to build, 90 million British pounds. And this is her salary. This is the 700 million US dollars in British pounds. You're talking 469 million roughly. And here's like an artist's rendition of what this mega mansion is going to look like. Now, let's look at these numbers here. This mega mansion is going to cost roughly 90 million. And this is her salary for 2020. So this is about 1/5. Just less than 1/5 of her salary for 2020. Now you just imagine how much you're making. Let's just say you're making 60,000 US dollars a year. And you would only need 20% of your yearly salary to build a mega mansion. That would be the equivalent of about $12,000. Imagine you could build this super luxury mega mansion for just 12 grand. So this is the life of Denise Coates. This is the type of crazy money we're talking about. And of course, this has garnered a lot of attention and people are saying it's absurd. Now here she is with a CBE. This is a commander of the British Empire. These are awards dished out by the Queen of England every year to various recipients. And so the Queen, she thought this woman was deserving of a CBE. I beg to differ, but here we go. Here's her sunken tennis court, which is going to be built. And here's some crazy stats. So they take this number and they compare it to other figures. So it's over 3,000 times more than what the British Prime Minister makes. The British PM makes about 150,000 a year. 3,000 times more than the leader of Britain. Crazy. 54,000 pounds an hour. And this is the one that really stood out to me. More than all of the salaries of the chief executives of Britain's 100 largest listed companies put together. So this is absolutely insane. So the 100 largest British companies, the CEOs of all of them put together, made less than Denise Coates. Unbelievable. And of course her brother made out with lots of money too. Now this was 600 million given out to very senior managers, so he probably took a good chunk out of that. I've no problem with like billionaires and millionaires in general, but when you're talking about this industry, that really gets on my nerves because what benefit to society does gambling give? It leaves millions and millions of men and women out there destitute, broke, not able to put food on the table because of this addiction they have. And you have people like Coates making out like bandits here. And it's legal theft as far as I'm concerned. You know, gambling, it's the law is set up in favor of the gambling companies every single time. They can give you all these odds and make it look like you're getting a good deal with a bet. It's just it's a sick industry, really sick. Here we have former Tory leader Ian Duncan Smith. It's gross that anyone should pay themselves that amount of money in a single year. So here's the politician now. This is what I really want to focus on here, because like she can do this legally because the politicians have allowed this. In the UK, Ireland, some other countries, gambling is so easy to do that it's just inevitable that so many people are going to end up in serious financial ruin because of the law makes it so easy to gamble. Here he says this company is successful when people lose money and lives are changed and damaged. So that's absolutely true. The gain of these gambling companies is the loss of the regular people who are gambling and losing all their money. So it's a dangerous problem, but she flaunts it in everyone's faces by paying herself this ludicrous amount of money. Well, you know what, Ian Duncan Smith, you're a politician. You were the former leader of the Conservative Party, and you did nothing about it. And if you did do something, it was just some token gestures that don't mean much, and I'll get to that in a second. So here's another article about Denise Coates. A 45% pay rise in 2020 when the pandemic is happening. People think this is obscene, and I agree, but only because it's because of that industry. If she was the CEO of like a major grocery store chain and providing food to people, then, you know, I'd say maybe that money is deserved. But because it's gambling, she makes money by preying on people's gambling addictions. And that's what makes this so gross. Here she is. Now, this is her brother. This is her father. So her father, he got her into gambling. And as I said, she's not a gambler herself. You know, she's a very smart woman. Here's her pay details for 2019. Look at that. 421, 157 times 1,000. That's over 420 million. Crazy money here. And look, this is an image of some cell phone, and you have this Bet365 logo there. And this is like, because of cell phones and the internet, it's so easy to gamble now. You just click a few buttons and there you go. You're watching a game on TV. And then to make it more interesting, you put money down, and then people, they'll bleed themselves dry of money, slowly but surely. Now here she is with her father. You know, this woman has left so many hungry children at the dinner table with no food to put on the table. Now, ironically, look how skinny she is herself. She could do with some food in her. I mean, she can well afford it. And look, here's more pictures of her mansion. Look at the size of this gigantic mansion. And she already paid 5.5 million buying up hundreds of acres of farmland surrounding her new home. It's obscene because of the industry is in. Now, if, as I said to you, if she was in like an industry that was providing worthwhile goods and services, I would have no problem with this. But just because it's such a disgusting industry that preys on addicts, you know, it's not too different to a drug dealer, legal drug dealers, like pushing this gambling. And gambling is so rampant in countries like Ireland and the UK. Now look at this. Rival bookmakers including Ladbrokes, Coral, Paddy Power have seen their fortunes soar in the pandemic as millions of people globally spend time at home gambling. So it's crazy, and this gambling is getting worse and worse and worse. You know, online gambling, and here we go. So for those of you watching in the US, British companies including Bet365 are also expanding rapidly in the US after a court decision liberalized online sports betting, leading to a gold rush. And this is coming for America. America traditionally has had very strict gambling laws, except for one or two states, Nevada, for example. You got Las Vegas. The laws are getting more and more liberalized in the US for gambling, and I'm telling you guys, it's not going to be good. I've seen it in Ireland, I've seen it in the UK, I've seen it in other countries. This is not good. And the politicians, you have to point fingers at the politicians. And here we have the Labour Party, so the other big party. They campaign to tackle inequality in Britain's billionaires, so they're obviously left wing. So these guys pay lip service. And you have, so I'm just going to show you this. Bet365 pledged just £868,000 to Gamble Aware, which collects donations for treatment and research. So Gamble Aware is a charity to help people with gambling addictions. Here's their website. And they have gambling stories here. So here's Ben. No one ever talks about losses. So it's really hard to even know if someone's got a problem or not. And this is so true. You got gamblers. Unlike drug addictions, it's easier to hide your gambling addiction. But, you know, when the wife and the kids are sitting at the dinner table and there's no food there, the questions start being asked. But a lot of it is confined to the home, and people outside the home don't even know. The wife might know. And then the kids, you know, Santa Claus isn't going to come this year because daddy is gambling all the money. It's horrible. So this is the About section. We provide information to help people make informed decisions about their gambling. We will help you to find out more about gambling and what safer gambling option means. To understand and recognize the risks of gambling and show you where to go for further information. So I think understand and recognize the risks of gambling. I think they already know. Anyone who goes to this charity, they're already in big trouble from gambling. You know, nobody who doesn't have a gambling problem is going to go to these guys. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what they do. I'm going to do more research into this. But it just seems like it was an independent grant making. So I think this was kind of set up a partnership with governments. I think this was like a government initiative to make it look like they were doing something to tackle gambling. But you know what? You could make these laws a lot stricter. It's up to the lawmakers, the politicians, to do something about this. It's disgusting that somebody can make this amount of money from gambling, from other people's gambling, and she's raking in the money. Now, Mrs. Coates Charity Foundation, which previously donated to Oxfam, Dublin Macmillan Hospice. So she does give money to charity, so I give her kudos for that. But the courts have been criticised for not diverting more cash to fund gambling addiction treatment. So this mentions again the less than 1 million given to Gamble Aware. Now there's some government edict for gambling companies are supposed to give money, but it's voluntary to Gamble Aware. It's voluntary. They don't have to give it. If they want to give it, they can. So why would she do this? Why would she give when she's not legally obliged to do so? Why would she give money to a charity that tries to get people off their gambling addiction? You know, make it compulsory. You know, that would just be one easy tip for these bloody politicians. You know, I mean, they could go way further than that. They could even ban online gambling completely. I mean, they could go that far. Now, should they go that far? I mean, in my opinion, I think that should be looked at. That should be on the table, because in my view, gambling benefits a very small number of people like Denise Coates, and I don't accept the arguments, oh, well, it implies thousands of people who, you know, in the gambling shops and so on. But you know what? It's the bottom line for me is that gambling destroys people's lives, and there is no benefit to the gamblers, the customers. So what kind of an industry is it where the customers have no benefit, but the companies have all the benefit? It's such an unbalanced relationship there. It's crazy. Like most industries, the customer is getting something of benefit to them. But with gambling, it just gets nothing except empty bank accounts and empty dinner plates at the table and hungry kids. It's obscene. It's disgusting. And guys, please do not gamble. It's a scourge. It's so easy to get hooked in it, especially nowadays with your cell phones. You just set up an account so easily. Just give them your credit card number and away you go. It's terrible, guys. Just don't do it. Don't gamble in sports. Don't gamble on anything. It's horrible. And you see her getting her CBE. That's from the Queen, no less. Like, it's obscene. Like in the UK, there's a huge gambling problem where even the Queen herself she owns horses, I think, and she goes to what's it called, Royal Ascot. It's called Royal Ascot, the horse racing course. Like, it's insane, right up to the Queen. And the Queen isn't hurting for money. Denise Coates isn't hurting for money, but millions of regular gamblers out there, they're suffering badly. And this charity, I'm gonna do more research in this and see what I can find. You know, it's Mickey Mouse stuff. They probably have a tiny budget, you know, compared to these gambling companies, and it's really sad. See you guys next time. Goodbye.